So the reason why I start with doing all those things in the morning is because those are the things that actually make me happy.
What drives you to wake up that early and not sleep that much?
So it is very, very short night of sleep, but I do nap in the afternoon. When I'm here at the office, we have some offices at the back, a camping mattress here, like a foam mattress, and I have a nice pillow.
What's coming next for you? Where are you going with all of this? What is your end goal?
I will be an entrepreneur for my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's never going to change, that's never going to stop. The industry that I want to work in the most is space. Because you have people out there like Elon Musk and Richard Branson that are making space more and more accessible. So Elon Musk is the guy who created PayPal. He's also the guy who created Tesla. And he's the guy behind SpaceX. Okay. And so SpaceX, what they're working on right now is making reusable rockets, essentially, to reduce the cost of going into space.
Nice.
And Richard Branson, on the other hand, is the founder of Virgin, the Virgin Group. Mm-hmm. So all of the agglomerate of businesses that the Virgin Group is, Richard Branson is the founder of that. And he has a company right now that's working on making essentially planes that can take off and go right into space. Those two people, Elon Musk and Richard Branson, which are two of my people that I admire the most actually, are working towards pushing that frontier and developing that industry, right? Even as a kid, I was super passionate about the stars and space and everything else.
Yeah.
It's something that I've always kept at the back of my mind, and it's a vision that I have for myself, that that's an industry that I want to work in. The best thing for me would be to eventually have an opportunity for myself to go into space, right? Which is just, it's a dream. That would be a dream of mine. That's something that's completely out of my league right now, you know, and it's important for me to recognize that. But I can become the person that will be able to take on an opportunity like that eventually, though. And so that's what I'm working towards.
I find it really interesting that you're talking about space and everything, because that's something that myself as well I'm passionate about, and I have like many books at home about space and that kind of stuff. And at some point, you know, I had that idea that on my bucket list I put go spacewalking.
There you
go.
go.
The first thing that I do as soon as I put something on my bucket list is I go check it out. And so I went to check up, like, how does it work and how much does it cost and how do you get there, basically.
Yeah.
And I was surprised, like, in a good and a bad way, because, like, it's actually really, like, huge. You have to take a training, obviously, before you go, and you have to pay for the training. Anyway, I was, like, surprised that it was not as bad as I thought it would be.
Wow.
What do you think you still have to learn in life?
So much. Oh my God. So much. Okay, so let's take a step back then. I work hard. Mm-hmm. What people see is just the tip of the iceberg, right? But you don't see everything that goes on underneath.
Yeah.
So let's just squash right now the idea that I've accomplished myself. Mm-hmm. I'm very much so a work in process, just like everyone else. Well, one thing I definitely want to learn, that it be in my personal life, is I want to get to a point where things are stable. I haven't been in business for very long. Me really taking control of my health and my fitness is still also very recent. So none of that is at a point where it's stable yet. What do I want to learn? Well, one thing I want to learn is how do you take things from being stable and then push them to a next level of stable and productivity, okay? Because I'm not stable yet. I need to eventually have a few businesses that are running and that are able to grow on their own. Mm-hmm. And I guess that's kind of where I want to go into is what I'm trying to explain is I want to learn how to create something that can grow on itself. That's a big focus of mine. But before I get there, I still need to stabilize everything. But obviously, I mean, I'm 24. There's still so much to learn about everything. Yeah. Like even just about myself. Like there's so much more that I need to learn about myself. Honestly, everything. I want to learn it all, but I know that's impossible. But if I could live forever, then maybe I'd have a crack at a small bit of it. So.
I mean, we're both still very, very young. So I was gonna ask you, like, where would you see yourself in 10 years? But I just realized that even in 10 years, you'd be 24, which is still very young.
34.
34. Did I say 24?
You said 24.
Okay, I meant 34.
Yeah, no, exactly, and and also the other thing that we need to recognize is that in our day and age, things are changing so quickly that it's very unrealistic to set goals of a 10-year mark. Like, set a vision for yourself of ideals that you want for yourself, values that you want to live by. Yeah. But set shorter-term goals and make sure that it's aligned with your long-term vision. Because I know that after that, next year I can set a new 2-year goal, and the year after I can set a new 2-year goal, and it's always going to be aligned in that direction.
It's a different thing to set some goals for the long term than actually setting a vision for where you see yourself in your end goal, like I've just asked you.
Yeah.
So if you had some advice to give to people that want to figure out what their vision is for themselves on the long term, how do you difference the two? Like, how do you make sure that you go towards your vision and not necessarily a goal?
The biggest piece of advice I could give for that is, as a kid, because you haven't lived yet, you have very little restrictive thinking. And so as a kid, it's a lot easier for you to dream about stuff. And what you'll find is that what you were dreaming of as a kid, if you're able to get past all of those restrictive thoughts that you have about yourself right now, what you were dreaming of as a kid is still relevant to you today. And so you have to be able to go back in time and revisit what you were dreaming of as a kid.
That's powerful. So I want to go back on what we were talking about earlier. We talked about how you were admiring Richard Branson, and I forgot the name of the other one.
Elon Musk.
You said that those people are the person that you admire the most?
Yes.
So what you've learned from them and what they inspire you, like with what they inspire you, how do you apply that in your life?
From Elon Musk, what I take from him is that his drive to accomplish everything that he's doing does not come at all from wanting to be successful in business. It comes 100% from the feeling of there's something that can be done about this particular issue. I'm able to do something about it, so I'm going to do something about it. It's his passion to solve problems that made him who he is today. And everything that he does is fueled by that passion. And that's really what I took from him, is you do things for you. When it comes to Richard Branson, again, he's someone who very much so follows his dreams. But one of the things that I take from him the most is the ease at which he lives his life. I mean, he's worth like $5 billion or something ridiculous like that. But he's not one to wear a suit and tie. He doesn't believe in that. He doesn't believe you need to make yourself look better than who you are. You know, he's very much just about who you are, and it's about the results, and it's about having fun doing it. And that's what I take from him the most, is that you got to have fun doing it. You can't be too strict with yourself, and you really got to do things for you and in a way that makes you happy. So I really, really admire that from him too. So
yes, what I personally admire the most about you is how you're always driven and working on so many things, and for such a long time. Like, I've always seen you hustling. And what kind of advice would you have to tell people about that? Like, about how you're always a hustler?
I guess my number one piece of advice would be, first find out why you're doing it. Because if you're not doing it for the right reasons, it's not worth doing it all. But find a why that motivates you. Start with that.
Yeah.
And then everything else after that is going to be so much easier. Become very, very good at looking internally at who you are. And become very, very good at breaking down the walls that you might have set up. So number one piece of advice, introspection.
Love it.
Yeah.
What's your favorite quote?
It's hard to choose one. Yeah. Very, very hard to choose one. This one, I very much so agree with it. Do or do not. There is no try. From Yoda. I love Star Wars. I'm sure after everything I've said so far, no one would be surprised to find out that I love Star Wars.
Yeah.
That and power is applied knowledge. So I think those would be by far my two favorite quotes.
So, last question I want to ask you. I guess that eventually you want to have kids or have your family on your own, and there's people that you want to inspire or loved ones that you're going to have in your life. What's the message that you want to get out there for them? Like,
it would have to be, do you for you. Being ourselves is going to be more and more difficult. How communications have changed, it's put us in a position where there is so much pressure to represent certain ideals and stuff like that. Just because of that, it's so easy to get lost between who people would want you to be versus who you want to be. First started entrepreneurship, I thought that entrepreneurship was the only way to go, and I thought that most people should try to become an entrepreneur in one way or another. Most people should try to reflect those ideals. And now that I'm maturing and growing older, I mean, not very old yet. But I'm realizing that there's not one answer. There is not one answer. There's so many different answers to what's going to make you happy. You have a life to live, and that life is your own. So do it for you. Like, do stuff for yourself.
Well, Guillaume, I want to thank you a lot for doing that interview with me. I'm really glad that we got to do that together. I want to take the time to acknowledge you. I think you're an amazing person, and I've seen you hustle through so many things. So I'm really glad to have you in my life, and I find you're a really good inspiration. I feel like you're never scared. I really see you scared, and that's been impacting me. Because I know you've been pushing me a lot, and sometimes you're that little push that I need to take the job for something. And I'm just really happy to have you as my friend, and you've been supporting me no matter what, even if I was scared and I was not ready for something. You were still there to support me, so I really, really appreciate that.
Always there. Always there for you.
Let's finish just by telling people if they want to keep in touch with you, if they want to follow you, what's the best way to...
For sure. Best way would be just to subscribe to my YouTube channel, because that's where I put the most of that out there. My YouTube channel is Guillaume Danis. And then there's also my Instagram, G_Danis. So that's different things that different ways you guys can follow me. And I just want to take a few minutes to say thank you, Vanessa, for giving me an opportunity to put my ideas out there. And I also wanted to say thank you to the Business Development Program and Nick Ham for letting me use his amazing office to film this. Essentially, the Business Development Program is a sister company of North Coast Services. The Business Development Program is also the company that owns Scholars at Your Service Painting, which is where I started my journey in entrepreneurship. Scholars at Your Service is a student franchise business where you get to run a business, but sort of in a sandbox environment where there's certain limits to where you can go, and it's those limits are there to sort of protect your progress, and you also have a coach to help you develop the skills that you need to succeed in business. So I think that is a great place to start. Is it where everyone should go? No, not necessarily. If entrepreneurship is dear to your heart and you don't know where to start, then that can be a good place to start fostering those skills, developing those skills, and fostering the attitude and the character to succeed. Yeah, I just want to take a few minutes to say thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you to you. Thank you to Nick.
I feel like there's going to be many things to talk about, so we'll definitely do another one.
It'll be my pleasure. I mean, I love doing this. I'm very grateful that I had people that were there for me. It brings me a great sense of joy to be able to be there for other people as well. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thanks, Guillaume.
Thank you.